Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be trying out some new drugstore products that I picked up. A couple of the items are probably not new to the drugstore, but they are new to me. So let's go ahead and get into it. So first I'm going to put on some lip balm. This is by Wet n Wild. I'm going to go ahead and put some of this on because my lips are super chapped. So I have a couple of palettes here to show you guys, and they're both by Revolution. One of them is the Revolution Ultimate Nudes palette. This one here, and then I have this one that's called the Ultraviolet palette. Look how cool this palette looks. I love that it's in a sheer purple package. So these are the shades of this palette, just really beautiful, bright, springy shades. I absolutely love that green in there and that teal blue. So what I think I'm gonna do is go ahead and use both of these palettes. I just wanna see how these shadows perform. So let me get started by putting my NYX Skin Tone Primer. Place that all over my lid, or lids. So I'm just setting this with some translucent powder. So this first palette, the Ultimate Nudes palette, is what I want to start off with. So these are the shades up close. Really beautiful, like purple shades. There are some really nice warm tone shades in there as well. So I'm going to use the matte shades first because I want to see how these actually perform on the eye. I could have actually used the light shade to set that primer. I didn't even think about that. But even though I didn't use it to set the primer, I am going to put it all over the lid. I'm gonna go into this shade right here, which is kind of like a peachy shade, and I'm gonna put that in the crease. So it's a lot lighter than I thought it was gonna be. So we're gonna go ahead and go into a darker shade in the palette, this one right here. I'm just gonna go over the shade that I put on first, just to deepen it up. I want to deepen up the crease a little bit more, so I'm gonna go into this shade right here. This is more of like a mauve tone shade. All right, that one didn't show up as much as I thought it was going to. It looks a lot darker in the pan, so it kind of confused me that it did not come out as dark, but that's okay. So now I'm gonna go into this palette. I am gonna deepen up the crease, so I'm gonna go in with this shade right here. This one right here that I'm putting on my eye is called Dunes. And this one's nice. It's going on really nicely. It's blending with those other shades really nicely. I do want to try these purple shades in here, the shimmer shades. I think I'm going to go in with this one right here, the darker purple. I'm going to use this MAC 242. I'm going to start by putting this on the outer corner. And that's not coming off as well as I wanted it to. I'm gonna go in with this brush instead, and this is by Morphe. I'm just gonna see if it'll pick up a little bit more color, and it really doesn't. I think it's just the shadow. It's just not coming off as well. I'm gonna try this one in the palette, see if I can get a little bit more pigment. When I dip my brush in there, they do feel like they're creamy shadows, and they look like they would come off very pigmented, but I don't know, they're just not coming off well with this brush. I'm gonna try another brush because I'm determined. I'm gonna go into this purple right here, and it looks like barely any is coming off on my brush. It's not really coming off well with the brush. I did swatch one of the purples, and look how beautiful it swatches. It's just not coming off on the eye like that. Let me try something real quick. I am gonna try it with my finger. Yeah, so see, I can get a little bit more pigmentation with my finger, but still, it doesn't look very deep. It looks like it's kind of faint. All right, so what I'm gonna do is just take a wipe and clean that purple part off and just kind of start over. All right, so I took the purple part off, so I'm gonna go in with this palette. I'm gonna take this shade right here, this really bright pink shade, and I do wanna do the same type of look that I was gonna do, which is where I put the shade on the outer corner and on the inner corner, and then I put another shade on the center. So let's go ahead and just press this into the eye. So this shade is really nice. It's very pigmented. And then I'm gonna place some on the inner corner. And then what I like to do is I kind of like to connect the two right here in the middle. So now I'm gonna take this really bright green shadow, and I'm gonna use this on the center of my lid. The shade that I have on the outside, the pink shade, is called Lush, and the green shade that I'm about to use is called Violet. Let's see how this packs on the eyelid. And again, this is a very creamy shadow. When I put my brush in it, it's leaving like a little indentation in the shadow. So with this 242, this MAC 242, it's not coming off as well. So I'm gonna go in with my finger. This is the pigmentation of this shadow. So I wanna go ahead and just press that into the center of the lid. So I wanna show you guys something. I wanna show you this shade right there. Do you see it looks like it has like an indentation from my finger? While I was trying to put it on this eyelid, I felt like I wasn't really picking up as much product as when I first showed you the swatch. And it's not coming off with a brush either. I don't know why it's not doing that. If there's like a special brush to use with these shadows that Revolution has, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So I just feel like I had to really work on this eye. I am gonna finish off the look with some of the mattes in this palette, but I will say that this one, the green one, was really kind of hard to use. I'm gonna go into the shade Island, this one right here. It's like kind of like a, I don't know, like a plum shade. I'm gonna deepen up that outer corner just to add some depth there. And I'm putting that in the crease as well. This one's coming off a little bit choppy. I do want to blend that out so it kind of cleans it up. So I'm gonna try one more thing. I'm gonna wet my MAC 242 and I'm just using the Hello Good Stuff from Essence. And then I'm gonna go back into that green shade and try to press that onto the lid. No, that's not working either. It comes off on the lid, and then as I start to press it into the eyelid, it starts to take some of it off. Yeah, that's not looking too good. All right, guys, let's move on to the rest of my face because I'm kind of getting a little frustrated with those shadows. So let's go ahead and get into primer. I'm going to try the Supercharged Dewy Primer by Milani. I picked this up not too long ago and I haven't tried it just yet, so I'm really excited to try it today. So it's supposed to be a dewy primer that has ginseng and citrus extracts. Ginseng is supposed to be like something that peps you up, so hopefully it'll pep my skin up. So I'm just going to go in with a pea size. It doesn't really smell like anything, but it feels good on the skin. And for being a dewy primer, it doesn't feel like slippery or anything like that. It just feels really nice and moisturizing. Another product by Milani that I want to use today is a Supercharged Brightening Under Eye Tint. This is actually in the shade Peach. So I do want to use this today on my under eyes. I heard this stuff was really good. I heard it was very brightening. I'm just going to put a little bit on my under eyes and press that under there. I definitely need some brightening under there because I have like some major bags going on right now. So it instantly illuminates under eyes with microfine pearls. It's a 2-in-1 makeup skincare with hyaluronic acid, caffeine, and color correcting pigments. So it's supposed to brighten the eyes. That caffeine should wake the eyes up, and then the pigment should actually cover those dark circles. So I'm excited to see how this is going to work out for me. I am going to go in with my Revolution Pore Perfecting Primer just for the center of my face. Even though I put that other primer on, I do want to use a pore perfecting primer and something that's going to keep me a little bit more matte. So the foundation that I'm going to use today is the L'Oreal Age Perfect Radiant Serum Foundation. This has a broad spectrum of SPF 50 and it also has antioxidants in it. This is the shade Golden Honey. I have been wanting to try this product for a long time. I saw it on Cassie Thatcher's channel and she absolutely loves it, so I wanted to go ahead and try it today. It does come in a squeezy tube and it has a tip to it, so I'm just gonna put a little bit on the back of my hand. The consistency is liquidy, but it's not like running down my hand or anything. And with that, I'm going to use the Morphe Microfiber Beauty Sponge. It came in this little box right here, and then when I went ahead and wet it, look how big it is compared to the box. It's huge. So it has 2 flat sides to it, and it also has a flat top and then a round bottom. So we're gonna go ahead and place that foundation on my skin, and then I'm gonna use the sponge to blend it out. Hopefully the sponge doesn't pick up a lot of the product. If it does, I'll have to go in with a brush, but we're just gonna go ahead and go for it. I'm not doing a wear test today, but I will be testing this out for you guys later. I just wanna see how this looks on my skin. It might be something that I like, or maybe something that I really don't like based on the coverage. But when I saw it on Cassie's channel, she said it had pretty good coverage. And she's right, it does. This is like a very thin layer and look how nice that covers. You guys saw how much I put on the back of my hand. I am gonna go in with a little bit more because you guys know I have to have a little bit more coverage. Feels really nice on the skin. It feels really lightweight. So I'm going to press that into the skin. And I don't know why, but I just used the round part instead of the flat part. I should have used the flat part, but oh well. That does look really pretty on the skin. And the great thing about this, guys, it has SPF 50. Which is going to be perfect for the summer. Now I did use that Milani Dewy primer, but it didn't look super dewy on my skin. So I wasn't too afraid to go in with this foundation, which the foundation is a radiant foundation and it's a serum. So I knew it was going to be a little bit more glowy than normal, which is fine. I am going to powder my face today, so I'm not too worried about it. But I've been wanting to try this foundation out for a while now, and I finally get to do it today. And I'm gonna bring a little bit down on my neck. So I went in with another like pea size or a little bit bigger than a pea size on the second go round, and I think it looks really good. I think it looks really nice and very radiant, very beautiful, glowy. I am gonna go in with my Tarte Shape Tape, and this is in the shade Tan, and I'm just gonna put it where I need it. I put a little bit more on my nose because I felt like my nose didn't get as much foundation from that application. So I went ahead and put a little bit more on my nose. I'm gonna go in with the flat side to press this in. I do like the sponge. I felt like it was great in the fact that it didn't soak up a lot of that product. It did a good job of applying the product as well. I am gonna go in with the Lip Bar Concealer. I have used this concealer on my channel before. I have two shades. I have Honey and I have Ivory. So what I like to do is I like to mix the two shades together because one is way dark or like my skin tone and the other one is too light. They just did not have one that was in between. So let me put a little bit here and put some on my nose. I'm gonna go in with the shade Ivory to lighten that up. See, Ivory is really light, so I have to mix the two. And then I'm going to take my sponge and just press it in. And I'm going to take the tip of this. This is kind of weird, so I'm just going to take the edge of this and blend it in my under eye. I went ahead and set my under eyes with the One Size powder. I don't necessarily like this, guys, for putting concealer on. I feel like the shape of it is kind of weird to me. I just feel like it doesn't really get in there. So I don't know. I'm just not feeling that for my under eyes, but for my face, it's perfect. I did purchase the Covergirl Simply Ageless Instant Wrinkle Blurring Pressed Powder. I got the shade Soft Honey, but this is what it looks like. Now, I had never seen this. I don't know if this is new to them or if it isn't. But I did want to pick it up because it said blurring on there. So I was really intrigued by that. So this is the Soft Honey shade. I think this is going to be a good shade for me. It does come with this little sponge, which I'm not going to use. So I'm going to use this Eco Tools brush and I'm going to dip it into the powder. It is a little bit powdery, but we're going to see how this looks on the skin. All right, so that is what the powder looks like. It doesn't look too bad. Looks really nice. It doesn't look like super cakey or anything like that. So we're gonna go ahead and go in with bronzer. And of course, I'm gonna go into my All-Inclusive palette by Milani. And I'm gonna go into the bronze shade that's in the palette. This was actually in my favorites. And I really love this bronzer. I think it's so, so gorgeous on the skin. And then for my cheeks, I'm gonna go into the medium to deep palette. I'm gonna use this one right here. I'm gonna go ahead and go off camera and do my eyebrows and add some eyelashes and I'll be right back. All right, so I put on my lashes and my brows and I'm gonna go back into this pink shade right here. I do wanna add some color to my bottom lash line. This pink shade is the only one that I really, really liked as far as application. So I figured why not put some on my bottom lash line. I am gonna go in with a little bit of this shade right here. This one's called Peaceful. And I'm just going to place it as close to the lash line as possible. And I'm gonna take a little bit of Peaceful too on the top to deepen that outer corner. Then I'm gonna take my Sephora Size Up Mascara. I've really been loving this mascara. I actually applied this on my top lashes before I added my falsies. And I'm going to go underneath those falsies with this just to give a little bit more fullness to my lashes. And I'm also gonna add it to the bottom lashes. Now I've never used this for my bottom, but I do use it for my top lashes and I love it for the top lashes. So for lips, I'm gonna go in with Sugar Pie by Morphe. And then I've been loving these Essence lipsticks. This one's in the shade Naughty. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this on my lips. It's a pretty like bright pink shade, so I'm gonna tone it down a little bit. I'm gonna go in with the shade Loyal to tone it down a little bit. All right guys, this is the finished look. So let's go ahead and go over the products because I have a lot to say about these. As far as the Revolution palette, I thought this palette was such a beautiful palette. I hate that this shade did not come off as pigmented as I wanted it to. I felt like I went in with my finger, I went in with the brush, and still I was not getting good results. And then with this shade right here, it just didn't show up. It didn't have that pigmentation, but the pink shade in here is beautiful. And this shade went on okay. So yeah, I didn't really like the formula of that green shade, and I feel like it's the same formula that's in this palette. I don't know what it is about the shimmer shades. They're very, very creamy. Like you can see that indentation right there from my finger, and I think because they have that consistency, they really don't come off well on the eyes. I felt like when I put my finger in there, it did come off on my finger very well, but it didn't come off on the eyelid well. And then when you use a brush, it just doesn't have that pigmentation. So unfortunately, these palettes did not work for me. I really wanted them to because I think they're really beautiful palettes, but I just feel like it was just too much work for me to use these. As for the Supercharged Brightening Under Eye Tint, it didn't really brighten the eye, and it didn't really cover up those dark circles. I like the fact that it has the caffeine in there because it helps with that puffiness. And when I put on the concealer, I felt like the concealer went on really well. It didn't like crease or anything. So I'm going to continue to try this because I do think I'm going to get some good results out of this. It is skincare plus an under eye tint, so I'm just going to keep trying it just to see if it's something that's really going to work out for me. So that's my opinion on that. And then for the Supercharged Dewy Primer, I probably shouldn't have used this primer with this foundation because this is a radiant serum and this is a dewy primer, and dewy will only give you more hydration. Not that it looks bad. I don't think it looks bad at all, but I think that I need a different primer with this. So I am going to be testing this out with a different primer because I do love this product. I think it has great coverage. I just feel like this is a double whammy when I put two dewy products together. I wasn't even thinking about that, to be honest, but I do like the dewy primer. I think it goes on really well. It sinks into the skin. It doesn't look like greasy. It doesn't feel greasy. So I'm really gonna have to try these out separately, but so far as first impressions, I really do like both products. I'm just gonna have to try it with other primers and with other foundations. As far as the Covergirl Instant Wrinkle Blurring Powder, I thought the powder went on really nice. I think this is a great shade for me. It didn't look really cakey or anything like that. It went on really smooth, and it did smooth my skin, but of course it didn't smooth my skin as well as the Kosas powder that I've been loving. I don't feel like it was heavy or anything like that. I like the fact that it has the hyaluronic acid and the vitamin C in it, and I am gonna keep trying it because I think for first impressions it did really well. And the next product is this Morphe sponge. Now I did love the sponge for my face, but I did not love the sponge for my under eyes. I felt like it was really hard to get into that corner. I felt like I had to squeeze it and kind of press that concealer in. So I don't like it for my under eyes, but I do love it for my entire face. I especially like the fact that it did not pick up any of that product and it laid everything down well. So yeah, so the sponge is really good, but only for my face. So that's it for me trying these new products from the drugstore. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you want to see more of my videos. So thank you guys for being here. Take care, and we will see you on the next one. Bye.